If you are planning to buy property in Nairobi, there's one question that can save you millions of shillings, and most buyers never ask it. This is not about tiles. The question is not even about finishes or even about security. Because when we go to see a house or to buy a house, we look at tiles, we look at finishes, we even ask about security. The question is, where does the water go when it rains? Every year during the long rains or even short rains, we see the same scenes. Roads underwater, cars stalled, homes flooded. And yet, during the dry season, those same neighborhoods look perfectly safe. So today, let's walk through what you should actually look for before buying property in a city where heavy rainfall is becoming more intense. In Nairobi, flooding is not random. It's rarely random. Usually it typically happens in low-lying terrain, near rivers or seasonal streams, in areas with blocked or undersized drainage, in estates built on reclaimed or previously wet land. And water we know flows under gravity. It follows gravity. So if a property sits in a natural collection point, heavy rain will expose it. But the problem is, during the dry season, nothing looks suspicious. We see grass growing, the roads look normal, and plots appear level. But rainfall reveals the geography. We said water follows gravity. And that's why flood risk must be evaluated before purchase, not after. This may sound counterintuitive, but the rainy season is actually the best time to assess flood risk. And most buyers inspect property when the weather is very calm. That's when agents schedule viewings. That's when everything looks clean and controlled. But rain is a stress test. So if possible, visit the property during the rainfall season or within 24 hours after heavy rain. And then you observe very carefully. Are there puddles lingering on the road? Does water pool inside the compound? Is mud flowing across the driveway? Even stains, you can check for stains on perimeter walls or even gate pillars, which can tell you that water has risen before because you'll see the marks. And rain does not lie. If you look carefully, you are going to see the signs. Or you can even stand outside the property and study its elevation. Is the house slightly higher than the road? Because most of the rainwater, the flow usually comes from the road. So if the property is below the elevation of the road, so you need to start outside the property and study its elevation. Is the house slightly higher than the road or slightly lower? That small difference matters more than many people realize. Because if the road slopes towards the gate, so the road is here, the gate is here, water may flow directly into your compound. So it means the road is higher than your gate, so water will flow from the road to your inside your compound. So you also look at driveway slope and the position of drainage channels if possible. And then the height of foundation above ground. Where is the foundation? Is it above ground? That height is also very important. So a house built just a few inches lower than surrounding land can become a collection basin. So if the house is just slightly a few inches lower than the surrounding land, it can become a collection. All the water will be coming from the surrounding land to your house. Also ask, was the land filled with soil before construction? If there's someone who can answer that question. Some plots are raised artificially. If poorly compacted, they can shift or allow uneven water pooling. So if it's not compacted slightly, so it might shift and allow uneven water pooling. So those are some of the observations you can make. So don't just look at, don't look, you need to investigate some things. So many buyers glance at the house and ignore the drainage network, which is a mistake. So you need to look at beyond the boundary property. Walk 50 to 100 meters in both directions. You'll be checking are estate drains connect to a larger drainage channel. If you can see them, some of them are not visible. So are culverts blocked? Is garbage obstructing water flow? Just look around 50 to 100 meters. Look at the culverts. Look at is garbage obstructing water flow? Are there signs of erosion along the road edges? Just by observing. And sometimes the house drainage is well built, but the neighborhood drainage fails. Like we looked at, we said the culverts could be blocked. If you're able to see, or even there's some sort of garbage which is obstructing the water flow, it means that water can't flow because there's garbage somewhere and it is blocking their flow, the water's flow. And when the system fails, water backs up. So if there's some obstruction or the culverts are blocked, water will back up. And then it might have a backflow back to your house if you are nearby. So if you see sandbags placed permanently near homes, that is also a sign residents are managing recurring flooding. So if you see sandbags, people are putting sandbags near their homes, it means that they are managing the floods. And then you also need to talk to people who have lived there. You can talk to the neighbors. You can talk to even the vendors who are out there. So before committing to purchase, speak to at least 2 long-term residents. Ask very directly, has this area flooded before? Just ask the question. And if they say yes, how often? Or how high does the water reach? How long does it take to drain? So those are the questions you can talk to long-term residents, or if there's maybe a shop nearby or some vendors who've been there for a long time. These people have a lot of information. Then you learn more from a 10-minute conversation with a neighbor than from any sales brochure. So if you talk to a neighbor, it's not the same as that brochure you've been given, because maybe this agent just wants to sell, or the house looks very good when it is during the dry season. So you need to listen not only to what they say, but how they say it. So how they say it is also important. If they say, for instance, it only floods a little, then you need to ask, what does a little mean? Have an inch inside the house, just the road? Then you need to have all those details. They are very, very important, and be keen when you are talking to these people. Then, when you are checking the surrounding environment, look at the nearby features. If you are looking at the environment, look at nearby features. Is there a river corridor within walking distance? Is there undeveloped land uphill that could increase runoff in future? Because if there is an undeveloped land, it means that uphill, that is a big catchment. It means all that water will flow. The runoff will come to maybe your house. And then look around also and see, are new apartments being constructed nearby, which increasing impermeable surfaces. The built-up area is also increasing. That means the water will not be flowing into the soil. It won't be absorbed it will be all runoff. Then urban growth changes drainage patterns. So the urban growth, like those new apartments, it also changes the drainage patterns. An area that was safe 5 years ago become vulnerable if upstream development increases runoff. So if there's upstream development, those new apartments and all, as I said earlier, now it means all that surface is not, water is not penetrating to the soil. So it means all that will be runoff, maybe towards your house. So think beyond the current moment. You are buying into a future drainage system, not just a current one. So you look, when you are checking this drainage, you are looking at the future, not just now. because whatever happens, it will affect you in the future. So flood insurance in Nairobi is not common, so you cannot rely on insurance as a safety net. It is not yet developed much. That means you need prevention and awareness more than anything else. Review the title documents also carefully and check whether the property borders riparian land or designated water channels. I do not know whether they can indicate all that. Like some countries, they usually look at they can indicate whether it's a flood zone or something like that. But you need to check what that area what was it and which is it? Is it bordering riparian land? Because of course, if it is, then it means water is not very far. Or is it a designated water channel? And that's why it's also very important to talk to people before you purchase your property. So you also need to ask whether the developer conducted any flood risk assessment before construction. If such a thing is there, ask about it. Then most buyers never ask this question. Also examine the building itself. Now you come to the building itself. So are there electrical sockets positioned high enough? Are they positioned high enough? Remember, when it floods, you can also be electrocuted, especially if the water gets into the electrical sockets. Is the foundation visibly reinforced? If you are able to see, or you can get someone who can be able to see what we are about foundation and all that. Are there past repair marks near lower walls? Check the lower walls, cracks and all that. Can you see also repairs? So physical evidence often reveals the history. So now you've come from the surroundings, you've checked the culverts, you've checked the drainage, you've checked whether there's garbage, you've checked whether there's new apartments coming up, you've checked so much outside. Now you come to your building. So climate variability means rainfall is becoming less predictable. We no longer can predict. A long time we knew there are short rains, long rains, that was it. But now it's no longer predictable. It may not rain more days overall, but when it rains, it can rain harder. This means the intensity or the amount of rainfall you're receiving within a very short time is a lot. So that intensity, that a lot of water within a very short time, it stresses also the drainage systems. So infrastructure built decades ago may not have been designed for today's rainfall patterns. As we said, the rainfall pattern is changing. So when buying property, you must think in decades, not seasons. Ask yourself, if rainfall intensity increases over the next 10-20, will this location still be safe? So we are looking at unpredictable rainfall where the intensity is so high that within a very short time we are receiving a lot of rainfall. And that means there is also no time for that rainfall to soak into our soils. Even if we have somewhere where they can soak into, there are no apartments, there is no built-up area, but there's still no time. So when it rains, the water is just flowing because of that energy it has, that intensity within a very, very short time. That is a different question from. So you need to ask yourself, will this location still be safe in 10-20 years? So that's a different question from, does it look safe today? As we said, most of us look for houses to buy, to purchase, when it is usually very dry season, calm, looks perfect, the drainage looks perfect, everything looks perfect. So buying property in Nairobi requires more than checking finishes and negotiating prices. Not only in Nairobi, most cities. So it requires asking, where does the water go? That's the question we started with. Visit during rain if possible. Then you need to study elevation, inspect drainage where you can, speak to the neighbors. We said you talk to 2, maybe 3 long-time neighbors, or even vendors who are out there, or even anybody who can be able to answer your questions, and also look beyond the compound. So you need to think long-term. So flood risk does not mean you should avoid buying. We are not saying that you should avoid buying. It means you should just be informed. You buy when you are informed. Because one heavy season can expose what years of sunshine conceal. Just one heavy rainy season, it will expose what the sunshine has been concealing. So if you found this helpful, subscribe for weekly practical insights on climate risk, property decisions, and resilience in Kenya. And if you've experienced flooding after buying property, share your experience. Others may avoid the same mistake. It's good that if you have experienced such, you can share it in the comment section so that others may also be able to avoid the mistake. Or if there's something you may want to add from what we have discussed, you are free to add. So that's it. Until next time. Bye.